If you're new here, make sure to subscribe, because what I'm about to share isn't just a creepy story. It's something that actually happened to me, and I'm still trying to understand it. My name is Daniel Hayes. I'm 34 years old, and until last year, I lived a quiet life on a small farm in northern Nebraska. I've never been the kind of guy who believed in ghost stories, UFO sightings, or anything supernatural. I'm a practical man, raised with the mindset that if you can't touch it, measure it, or see it with your own eyes, it probably doesn't exist. That's why what I experienced shook me so hard, because I did see it, I did feel it, and no amount of rational thinking can erase it. It all began one late summer night, right after harvest season. I had just finished putting away the last of the equipment, the kind of exhausting day where your whole body aches but you feel proud, satisfied. The field stretched endlessly into the dark, golden stalks now cut low against the horizon, and the air smelled like soil and dry corn husks. I sat on the porch with a bottle of cheap beer, just staring at the stars the way I sometimes did. That's when I noticed something unusual. At first, it looked like a star that was brighter than the rest, hovering low near the tree line in the distance. I thought it might be a plane, but it wasn't moving like one. Instead of crossing the sky steadily, it seemed to just hang there, flickering faintly, like it couldn't decide if it belonged in the sky or on the ground. I remember leaning forward, squinting, my beer half raised, when suddenly the light shifted, darted, across the field in a way that made my stomach drop. Planes don't move like that. Helicopters don't move like that. It zipped from one end of the horizon to the other in seconds, stopping dead, as if inertia didn't exist. I set the bottle down, got up, and muttered to myself, "What the hell?" That's when I made the mistake of grabbing my flashlight and heading out. I don't know why. Curiosity, maybe it was that dumb farmer instinct of checking on my land whenever something strange happened. The night was quiet except for the crunch of dry earth under my boots. My dog, Rex, wouldn't follow me. He just stood on the porch, growling low, ears pinned back, something I'd never seen him do before. The light was closer now, just over the edge of the east field, glowing white-blue, almost liquid in the way it pulsed. Every hair on my arms stood up. As I stepped closer, the flashlight in my hand flickered, then went dead. I smacked it against my palm, but it was useless. And then the buzzing started. Not loud, but deep, a vibration that seemed to pass through my chest, making my ribs hum like tuning forks. My first thought was, generator? Tractor? But no, this wasn't mechanical. It was too perfect, too even. That's when I realized the light wasn't in the distance anymore. It was right above me. I tilted my head back and froze. Hovering maybe 30 feet overhead was something that no man should ever see. It wasn't a saucer, not like in the movies. It was more like a diamond shape, metallic but glowing faintly, edges outlined in shifting colors. Blue, then green, then silver. It was silent except for that vibration that made my teeth ache. I should have run. I know that, but I didn't. I stood there like an idiot, staring, until the light from underneath widened and swallowed me whole. I remember falling, but I wasn't falling. I remember darkness, but it wasn't night. And then I woke up. At first, I thought I had blacked out in the field, maybe from heat exhaustion or low blood sugar. But when I opened my eyes, I knew I wasn't anywhere near home. The air felt wrong, thicker somehow, metallic, like breathing inside a machine. The light was blinding, not like the sun but cold, sterile, flooding everything in a shade of white-blue. I tried to move, but my body wouldn't obey. My arms and legs were pinned down, not with ropes or cuffs but something invisible, like gravity had chosen to lock me in place. My head was tilted slightly upward, and above me, the ceiling shimmered like liquid metal, shifting and breathing like it was alive. My heart hammered against my ribs, and I tried to shout, but all that came out was a choked, broken sound. And then I saw them. Shapes moved in the haze, tall and thin, bending in ways that seemed unnatural, like their joints didn't follow the rules of bone. At first, I thought there were 3 of them, but as my eyes adjusted, I realized there were more, half a dozen maybe, circling me silently. They weren't the little green men from cartoons. Their skin, or whatever passed for skin, was pale, almost translucent, like the color of milk left too long in glass. Their heads were elongated, eyes impossibly large and black, not reflective but absorbing, as though light vanished into them. I wanted to scream, to thrash, to do anything, but the force holding me down was absolute. One of them leaned closer, its face inches above mine, and I swear I felt its gaze pressing into my skull, probing deeper than sight, like it was rummaging through my thoughts. My chest tightened with a pain so sharp I thought I was having a heart attack. Images flickered in my mind. My farm, my dog, my childhood bedroom, things I hadn't thought of in years. They weren't just looking at me, they were taking me apart from the inside. Another figure appeared beside the first, holding something that wasn't an instrument in any human sense, but the closest I could compare it to was a rod, humming faintly with that same vibration I'd felt outside. When they touched it to my arm, I didn't feel skin contact. There was no pressure. Instead, a wave of heat shot through me, searing but leaving no burn. My body convulsed even though I was still pinned in place. They communicated, but not with words. I don't know how to explain it. It was like hearing thoughts that weren't mine echo inside my head. Calm, precise, detached. They weren't talking to each other. They were talking about me, as if my mind was an open book being passed around. The closest thing I can remember to their voices was a rhythm, a sequence of pulses. Questions without language, commands without sound. One of them placed its hand, or what resembled one, on my forehead, and suddenly the room dissolved. I wasn't lying on the table anymore. I was standing in the middle of my own farm, but it wasn't real. The colors were too vivid, the air too still, and the sky overhead rippled like it was made of water. I heard my father's voice calling me from the porch, but he's been dead for 10 years. I turned and saw him, whole and young, smiling like he had when I was a boy. I tried to run to him, but the ground stretched endlessly, pulling him further away the more I moved. Then, just as quickly, the illusion shattered, and I was back under the cold light with the beings around me. They weren't testing my body, they were testing my mind. I don't know how long it lasted. Time didn't work there the way it does for us. Minutes could have been hours, hours could have been days. All I know is that at some point the pain stopped, the pressure lifted, and I could breathe again. One of the beings leaned closer, and for a split second, I thought I understood something, like a fragment of knowledge forced into my head. A message, maybe, a warning. But before I could grasp it, the light surged, and everything went blank. When I opened my eyes again, I was lying face down in the dirt, right where the east field meets the treeline. The sky above was pale gray with dawn, and the first crows were calling from the fence posts. My shirt was soaked in sweat, my throat raw from screaming I didn't remember doing. Rex was there too, barking frantically, circling me like he thought I was dead. I stumbled to my feet, shaking so badly I could barely stand. My watch was gone, my flashlight lay broken beside me, and when I looked toward the fields, the soil was charred in a perfect circle about 20 feet wide. No tracks, no machines, nothing else. Just me and that mark burned into the earth. I tried to tell myself it was a dream, that the exhaustion and heat stroke had conjured it all. But deep down, I knew it wasn't. Dreams don't leave scorch marks in the dirt, and dreams don't make your dog refuse to come near you. Rex stayed by my side, ears flat, growling softly whenever I took a step forward. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't tell anyone. Who would believe me? A farmer from Nebraska claiming he was abducted by aliens sounds like the start of a late-night cable TV episode, not a report worth filing. I walked back to the house in silence, keeping my eyes on the horizon, waiting for that light to return, but it never did. Days passed. I tried to go back to normal life, feeding the livestock, fixing fences, checking the silos, but everything felt off. Like reality had a seam and I could see the thread. Shadows moved slightly too fast, sounds echoed too long. I started noticing strange things on the farm. Equipment left in one place would be somewhere else the next morning. Small tools missing and then reappearing in odd spots. Lights flickering in the barn with no electrical reason. And the dreams, they came every night. Not nightmares exactly, but memories. Flashes of that diamond-shaped craft. The beings, the probing pulses of light and thought. Each night it was more vivid, more real. And always the sense that they were watching me, even when my eyes were closed. Then one evening, about 3 weeks later, it happened again. I was fixing the fence at the edge of the west field when I saw it. A flicker of light at the treeline, the same white-blue glow. My heart pounded so hard I could barely breathe. This time, I didn't freeze. I ran. I ran toward the barn, thinking if I could just make it inside, the roof and walls would somehow protect me. But before I reached it, the ground vibrated beneath my boots. A hum, low and pure, rolled through the soil, and suddenly everything went silent. Then the air changed. That same invisible force pinned me in place, and I felt myself rising off the ground, pulled upward with a weightless tug I couldn't resist. The craft was above, shimmering in the night sky, larger than I remembered, like it had grown. The same beings hovered inside, silhouettes against the pulsing light. I was lifted inside, and the door, or whatever entrance it had, closed behind me with a soundless click. Inside, everything was eerily calm. The same white-blue glow, the same vibration. They didn't approach me this time, not immediately. Instead, the craft seemed to move as if it was alive, adjusting around me, enveloping me in a sensory experience I can't fully explain. And then one of them, taller than the others, its head tilted at a strange angle, made a gesture. Not with its limbs exactly, but a movement in the air that my mind interpreted immediately. Watch! Suddenly, the walls of the ship became a window, not outward but inward into my life, into my past. Scenes flashed. My childhood home, my father teaching me to fix a tractor, my mother baking bread in the kitchen. Then, moments I'd buried deep. A fistfight at school I had forgotten. A mistake I made in town that haunted me for years. A conversation I wish I could take back. They weren't showing me my life to scare me. They were analyzing it, understanding it. And then, abruptly, a scene I had no memory of. Me standing in a cornfield at night, like this moment was repeating itself. Only in this scene I was older and the beings were already there. They weren't just visitors, they were observers, perhaps even recorders, repeating some process over decades. A shiver ran through me as I realized. I wasn't the first, and I wouldn't be the last. My mind reeled, trying to reconcile this knowledge with reality. And then, as before, I felt the hand, or whatever it was, on my forehead. This time, a voice or a thought entered me clearly, not a pulse or image, but a direct understanding. You will remember. Others will not. You will carry the seed. The words, or the meaning, was gone almost instantly, leaving only a lingering weight in my chest. I don't know how long I was on the ship. Minutes? Hours? Days? Time didn't exist in any recognizable way. And then, I was back in my field again. The sky was dawn, pink and pale, dew on the grass. The marks in the soil were still there, faint but undeniable. I stumbled back to the farmhouse, trying to process it all, but the world felt changed. Not just me, everything. The air, the wind, the hum of life felt like it carried a secret. And that's when I noticed it. Something small, metallic, lying near the fence post. I picked it up, a tiny shard, glowing faintly with blue light, warm in my hand, like it was alive. I didn't know what it was for, or if it was a gift, a tool, or a warning. All I knew was that it had come from them, and that somehow they weren't done with me. I kept that shard hidden for weeks, tucked in a box under my bed. I didn't tell anyone, Not even my closest friends, because who would believe it? I told myself I was lucky, that somehow I had been spared the worst, that it was over. But the truth is, it never ends. Even now, years later, I feel it in the edges of my vision. A flicker of light when no one else is there, a vibration in the air when everything should be still. The shard isn't just a piece of metal. It hums faintly when I hold it, resonating with some frequency I can't identify, and sometimes I swear I can see shapes moving within it, shadows that shouldn't exist. Life went back to normal in the obvious sense. I tend the fields, I fix the fences, I feed Rex and the livestock, and I do my chores like any other farmer. But nothing feels truly ordinary. I notice the sky more than ever before, the way the clouds move, the color of stars. I see things no one else does, small movements at the edge of the horizon, lights too strange to be airplanes. I've tried to document it, writing down every detail in a notebook, but words never capture it. I can describe the beings, the craft, the sensations, but I cannot explain the truth of what they showed me, the knowledge they planted in my mind. Sometimes, I wake in the middle of the night, drenched in sweat, convinced I'm about to be taken again. And sometimes I think I am. A few months after the second encounter, I was driving back from town late at night. The roads were empty, the headlights cutting through the darkness, when the glow appeared again, hovering silently above a cornfield. My first instinct was to accelerate, but something inside me told me to stop. I parked at the edge of the field, heart hammering, and watched. The light pulsed, slowly at first, then faster, as if calling me. I felt that familiar tug, not yet physical, but deep in my chest. I wasn't afraid, not completely. I was expectant, and I understood, in a way I cannot describe, that this was why they had chosen me. That shard, the probe of memory, the visions, it was all preparation. A warning? An invitation? I don't know, but I did not move toward it. I watched until it vanished, fading into the night as suddenly as it had appeared. When I returned home, Rex refused to come in for hours, staring into the darkness with a low growl. Couldn't sleep that night. I still can't. Some nights, I feel them close, just beyond the edge of perception, watching, waiting. And I wonder, what do they see when they look at me? Do they see a subject, a student, or something more permanent? I've spoken to others online, people claiming to have seen strange lights, or missing time, or beings that defy description. Most are dismissed as crazy. Some are too terrified to speak. But every story, every account, matches pieces of mine. And I realize now that these encounters are not random. They are methodical, careful, and deliberate. They choose who remembers. And somehow I am one of the few. Every day, I live with the question, will they return? And when they do, will I be ready? I don't know if I will ever understand why they came for me, or what their purpose truly is. I only know that they are real, that they watch, that their technology, their minds are beyond anything humanity has ever imagined. And I know this, once you've been touched by them, once you've seen what I've seen, the world is never the same. I walk among people, talk to friends, smile, laugh, but inside, I carry the memory of something beyond comprehension. Something that reminds me, every day, that I am not alone. And maybe that is the worst part. The knowledge that out there, somewhere they wait, silent, patient, studying us. Always watching, always choosing. And I was chosen once, and I fear I may be chosen again. So if you've stayed with me this long, thank you for listening. And remember this, look to the skies, notice the shadows at the edge of your vision, the lights that don't belong. Because some things are real, and some of them are watching you, even when you think you're alone. I am Daniel Hayes. I saw what no one else will believe, and I live to tell the story.